Respiratory protection. When the potential for exposure to atmospheric hazards exists, employees must wear respiratory protection. Respiratory protection is required in areas where the atmosphere lacks sufficient oxygen, called oxygen deficiency, or if it contains hazardous concentrations of airborne contaminants. Oxygen deficiency. Oxygen concentration is critical for worker safety. The air we breathe is approximately 21% oxygen. Oxygen deficiency exists when the oxygen concentration is below 19.5%. Low oxygen levels can cause dizziness, drowsiness, and unconsciousness. Very low oxygen levels can cause rapid unconsciousness and may result in death by suffocation, called asphyxiation. Airborne contaminants. Contaminants in the atmosphere can present various hazards when concentrations are high enough. There are two main categories of atmospheric contaminants: particulates and gases or vapors. Particulate contaminants are solids or liquids light enough to be suspended in the air, including dusts, fogs, fumes, mists, sprays, and smoke. Gases and vapors are contaminants in a gaseous state. They readily mix with air and expand to fill an area or space. Airborne contaminants may pose a number of hazards that can affect the health of employees. Some examples of health hazard classifications are carcinogens, toxins, irritants, and sensitizers. Carcinogens can cause cancer. Toxins have the ability to damage or disrupt living tissue. Some materials are classified as highly toxic and can produce serious health effects in small amounts. Irritants are non-corrosive chemicals that can cause inflammatory skin irritation. Sensitizers can cause an allergic reaction after exposure. To protect workers, each airborne contaminant has a permissible exposure limit, or PEL. PELs are regulatory limits on the amount or concentration of a substance in the air. PELs are generally expressed as a time-weighted average, or TWA, which is the average allowable exposure over an 8-hour workday. Contaminant concentrations are measured in parts per million, ppm. If a worker will be exposed to concentrations above the PEL, some form of respiratory protection is required. If contaminant concentrations are high enough, or when oxygen deficiency exists, the atmosphere is considered to be immediately dangerous to life and health, or IDLH. IDLH atmospheres pose an immediate threat to life, could cause irreversible health effects, and may impair an individual's ability to escape from the hazardous atmosphere. IDLH atmospheres require the highest levels of respiratory protection that provide clean, safe air from a source independent of the hazardous atmosphere. Respirators. The most common type of respiratory protection are respirators. Before using a respirator, employees must pass a medical evaluation, undergo a fit test, and must receive training on the proper use, care, and limits of the equipment. There are two types of respirators: air purifying respirators and supplied air respirators. Air purifying respirators, or APRs, are versatile respirators that use interchangeable cartridges to filter out airborne contaminants such as gases, vapors, sprays, mists, and solid particles. APR cartridges are hazard-specific. Always ensure that the cartridges will protect against the hazards present. Never use an air purifying respirator in an atmosphere that is oxygen deficient, or one that contains an IDLH concentration of airborne contaminants. Supplied air respirators. Supplied air respirators, or SARs, provide a constant supply of breathable air. SARs are the only type of respirators that can be used in IDLH atmospheres. One type of supplied air respirator is the airline respirator. Airline respirators provide users with breathable air from either a stationary or portable system. Airline respirator systems allow for longer work periods, but the attached air hose limits worker mobility. Another type of supplied air respirator is a self-contained breathing apparatus, more commonly known as an SCBA. SCBAs allow for greater mobility, but have a limited air supply. SCBAs are used in emergency response situations and in environments that could damage an airline. Employees must be protected when atmospheric hazards exist. To work safely, it is vital to know the hazards present, select the correct type of respiratory protection, and know how to properly use and maintain respirators.